Welcome back, boxing experts, people who think they are boxing experts, me included, KSI fans, stans, and Logan Paul fans and stans. And today, we are going to be talking about KSI versus Logan Paul 2, and why KSI won against Logan, and why the decision, in my opinion, was the best one. But before we get into the video, I need you guys to like, subscribe, and comment, or you can unlike or dislike, unsub, and leave a hate comment. I honestly don't care. Let's get into the video. Now, KSI versus Logan Paul 2 was highly anticipated, and for a while, it looked like the fight wasn't going to happen, but eventually they announced that it was going to be on DAZN or DAZN or whatever you want to call it, and in the words of Eddie Hearn,
no head guards, no head guards, no head guards, no head guards
with 10-ounce gloves.
KSI versus Logan Paul 2 had Logan Paul as the favorite and KSI as the underdog. Now, you may be asking yourself, why was Logan Paul the favorite and KSI the underdog? Well, people that didn't know Logan or KSI very well, or people that did, saw that Logan was stronger, he was better at boxing than KSI, he was taller, he weighed more, and he looked more like a natural athlete, and he just looked like he could do serious damage to KSI. And for people who saw the first fight, we all knew that KSI had the heart and the grit, and Logan had the technique and the ability to inflict actual damage on JJ. And Logan Paul brought in Shannon the Cannon Briggs. Now, I think the big flaw of Logan Paul's camp was the fact that he was a bit of a yes man, that being Shannon Briggs. I think that he encouraged Logan too much, to the point that he made Logan think he was invincible, that his abilities were godlike in a way. And in the final press conference, KSI told Logan how Shannon was asking his sparring partners to go easier on him and not to go too hard on him. And it makes sense because in the video that Jake made about the fight, he said how Logan wasn't finishing off his opponents and he wasn't taking it to that next level. He wasn't being pushed to the limit of where he could go. And I feel like with Logan, he was kind of babied through the process. He trained in his house. He didn't finish off his sparring opponents. I think Shannon was too gentle with him, and I think that the reason why KSI was able to take that huge uppercut that Logan inflicted upon him, and he was able to go all of the 6 rounds, was because he was pushed to the limit and given no baby steps and was completely treated as a pro fighter in camp, and that definitely showed in the fight. Another thing that I think contributed to Logan losing was that I think he underestimated KSI. Logan has stated in various interviews and on Impulsive that his big mistake was thinking that KSI was going to be so bad and he was going to be so good that this would be an easy walk in the park type fight. And Logan brought this down to Jake when he was training for Gib, to not underestimate your opponent. And I think that's something that Logan did heavily. I feel like at the press conferences, people would think, oh, Logan won those. But I think KSI won those press conferences, because Logan's confidence was not legitimate confidence. It was showmanship. It was an over-exaggerated, making a joke out of this, and he was very loud. KSI was taking this fight more seriously than Logan, because I feel like KSI had a lot to prove. There was a lot of doubt that he could beat Logan, that he had the ability or the technique to beat him, and he wanted to prove everybody wrong. He was extremely motivated, and that seems to be a common theme in these YouTube boxing fights. The person that wins is the one that's typically more motivated to win the fight. Jake Paul said in a interview that Logan looked very sloppy. He wasn't doing what they had worked on in practice, and he ultimately choked under the pressure, and I think out of fear out of KSI. Yes, I do think Logan Paul is afraid of KSI, because I think that KSI hits hard, and Logan knows this, and he wants to keep KSI at bay. So the fight begins, and I have watched this fight over like 50 times, I'd say, and I've had various opinions on it, and my opinion is that the first 3 rounds went to KSI. Now, having said that, Logan was landing a lot of very good jabs and punches, and whenever Logan threw, he landed pretty much all of the time, especially in the second round. But he wasn't landing the big shots. He wasn't controlling the pace of the fight. KSI was dictating the way the fight was going. He was the general of the ring. He was in control the whole time, and he was landing the big shots that make an impact, and that scared Logan. I feel like in the second round, KSI was landing even more, and Logan was landing even more as well. The third round, they both were missing a ton of punches, and then obviously KSI landed that knockdown that should have been counted and was legal. And I think the factor that led the ref to say this was a slip was because the way it seemed as if it hit him in the back of the head, but I think that when KSI hit him in the ear, it bounced off of his ear and it went around his head, and it happened so quickly. Someone who was witnessing it in real time and couldn't get an instant playback in slow-mo, they would think, oh, he hit him in the back of the head, when in fact, it was a legit knockdown. I'm going to go over what KSI could have done better and then what Logan Paul could have done better. I feel like with the first, let's get something out of the way first. Everyone says, oh, KSI threw these windmills and did all of this stuff because Logan was bigger. And that is true, but I think this was more about affecting Logan's mentality than about he was taller than him. Because people are very right in their views that KSI could have beaten Logan a lot better, even though Logan was taller than him. But Logan didn't like that constant in-your-face pressure. Even if the shots aren't landing, he does not like having the pressure put on him. And with KSI, just had to swing at his face and give him no time to think. That was KSI's response to why he swung so wildly. Once KSI knew what Logan Paul didn't like, he implemented that into the second fight, and it prevented Logan from thinking and landing really clean, crisp jabs. KSI said that he couldn't fight Logan traditionally. He needed to make it into a brawl. And I think that assessment is very true in my view. I feel like he didn't step into his punches. And I have been going over footage, the weigh-ins and the press conferences. And Shannon Briggs said something that was actually pretty knowledgeable. When the public workouts happened, and I'll play the clip, Shannon basically said how KSI kind of stays in the position that he's in, and I think that affected him in the fight because when he landed that wild shot, he didn't step into it. He literally just stood there and threw the punch and then moved. And I feel like after that first round, clearly KSI was doing better than Logan. I feel like KSI should have made Logan do the work and KSI landing the big shots. What Vidal said about how your right hand is too wide and, you need to get closer, tighter. That's all I kept on heard Vidal say, and I feel like that is very true. I think KSI needed to get tighter. He needed to get physically closer and step into his punches, and I think he would have made this a much more easier fight for him and a more decisive win. And the problem when fighting Logan is you get too close and he'll clinch you, and if you go too far out, you'll miss, but you'll have a better shot at landing a punch. So I think that fighting Logan was always very tricky for KSI. And then in the fourth round, I think KSI was winning that until the uppercut. Now, the uppercut and the 2-point deduction is pretty controversial. I think people seem to be missing is that Logan could have ended KSI in that fourth round. He literally had his hands down and was just allowing KSI to go away from him for that fourth round and into that fifth round. And then KSI obviously came back and won the sixth. But Logan could have ended that fight and had a glorious KO, or could have convinced the judges and scored enough points to win by unanimous decision. This was Logan's chance to completely change the outcome of the fight. Logan does not have the killer instinct. And I think that if he had been pushed to the limit more and told to finish off his sparring partners, he would have KO'd KSI. The thing is that I am harder on Logan, and I feel like KSI deserved that win more, is because Logan is so much better of a boxer than what happened on November the 9th, and Logan has the ability to KO and embarrass KSI. Truly, I do believe that KSI should have been beaten very easily by Logan. And that's why I feel like it's fair that Logan lost. And Logan said, I half did the fight. I wasn't quite all there. And he said that he couldn't get over the mental hump of the 2 points taken away. And that's kind of why he didn't attack KSI. And in the wise words of KSI...
I don't even know what you did. You did fuck all.
Understand that the 2-point deduction was controversial, and Logan blaming Jack and that being a reoccurring joke on his podcast and in his vlogs is a valid one, but Logan lost because of Logan. And in Jake's behind-the-scenes video, Logan said, "You know the only reason why I lost is because of me. I did not show up in the way that we had practiced for. It's on me." And Logan's views before, I think he was corrupted by Jake and Shannon and his whole team, was the truth. So, in conclusion, I think that KSI wanted it more. He had a better mentality. And, you know, this fight didn't come down to who had the better technique, who was the better YouTube boxer. It came down to who wanted it more and who was willing to go that extra mile, and that was KSI. Anyways, that's my thoughts and opinions on KSI versus Logan Paul 2. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Or do the opposite. I don't care. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.